Performance anxiety hijack. Someone is watching you. Maybe it's a colleague glancing over at your screen. Maybe it's a room full of people waiting for you to speak. Maybe it's just one person standing behind you while you type. And suddenly, your hands feel different. Your thoughts feel slower. Something that you do effortlessly every single day feels impossible. That's not weakness. That's not being bad under pressure. That's your brain doing something it was literally designed to do. When your brain detects that you're being observed, it triggers a threat response. The same ancient system that kept your ancestors alive when a predator was watching them from the trees fires up inside you when your boss watches you give a presentation. Your heart rate increases, your palms sweat, your focus narrows. And here's the part most people don't know. That response doesn't care whether the threat is real. It doesn't check. It just reacts. The brain reads being watched as being evaluated. And being evaluated means you could be rejected. And rejection, to a social creature like a human being, once meant death. So your brain panics, not because you're weak, because you're wired. The audience effect. Here's something strange. Being watched doesn't always make you worse at things. Sometimes it makes you better. Psychologists call this the audience effect, first studied by a researcher named Norman Triplett in the 1890s. He noticed that cyclists rode faster when they were racing against others than when they rode alone. Later research confirmed it. The presence of others increases arousal, and arousal boosts performance, but only on tasks you already know well. For simple, practiced skills, being watched can sharpen you, push you to go faster, harder, more precisely. But for complex tasks, anything that requires careful thinking, creativity, or learning something new, that same arousal gets in the way. It's like adding fuel to an engine. If the engine is running smoothly, more fuel means more power. But if the system is already struggling, more fuel just causes it to flood and stall. So whether being watched helps you or destroys you in the moment depends entirely on how automatic that skill already is. Your brain isn't glitching randomly, it's amplifying whatever is already there. The spotlight effect. You trip on a step in public. You stutter during a sentence in a meeting. You have a stain on your shirt that you only noticed halfway through the day. And your brain immediately convinces you that everyone saw it. Everyone noticed. Everyone is thinking about it. This is called the spotlight effect. And psychologists at Cornell University have studied it extensively. What they found is this. People dramatically overestimate how much others notice and remember things about them. In one study, participants were asked to wear an embarrassing T-shirt into a room full of people, then estimate how many people in that room noticed. On average, they guessed around 50%. The actual number, closer to 25. Your brain places you at the center of everyone else's world. It assumes that your mistakes, your appearance, your awkward moment is receiving the same level of attention from others that you're giving it yourself. But here's the truth. Everyone else is standing in their own spotlight. Everyone else is mostly thinking about themselves. The audience you're so terrified of performing for is mostly too busy performing for their own imaginary audience to notice yours. Mirror neuron overload. When someone is watching you intently, something strange happens in your body. You become suddenly aware of your own face, the way your hands move, where your eyes go, how loud you're breathing. Things you do completely unconsciously every minute of every day suddenly feel manual, like you've switched from autopilot to trying to fly the plane yourself. This is partly driven by mirror neurons, the part of your brain that is constantly modeling what others are experiencing. When you know someone is watching you, your brain starts watching yourself through their eyes. And the moment you start consciously controlling automatic behaviors, walking, speaking naturally, maintaining eye contact, they fall apart. This is why athletes talk about getting in their own head, why actors sometimes freeze on stage, why you forget how to hold a fork when someone is filming you eat. You're not broken. You've just accidentally transferred control of an automatic process to the part of your brain that doesn't know how to run it. The fix, by the way, isn't to try harder. It's to trust your body to do what it already knows how to do. The awareness itself is the glitch, not the skill. Evaluation apprehension. Here's a deeper layer to all of this. It's not really being watched that your brain fears. It's being judged. Psychologists call this evaluation apprehension, the anxiety that comes specifically from believing that someone is forming an opinion about you based on what they observe. And this changes everything about how you behave. Research shows that when people believe they're being evaluated, they shift from trying to perform well to trying to avoid performing badly. These sound like the same thing. They're not. Trying to do well means your brain is oriented toward the goal. Trying not to fail means your brain is scanning constantly for threats. Every possible mistake, every potential misstep. It's the difference between driving toward a destination and driving while terrified of hitting something. Both will get you somewhere, but one is going to be exhausting, rigid, and far more likely to result in the exact crash you were trying to avoid. The watched brain gets more conservative. Studies in behavioral psychology have shown something deeply interesting. When people feel they are being observed, even by something as subtle as a poster of eyes on the wall, they behave more cautiously, more in line with what they think is expected. They take fewer creative risks. They conform more. In one well-known study, simply placing an image of a pair of eyes near an honesty box significantly increased how much people paid for their coffee. They weren't being watched by anyone real, just two printed eyes on a piece of paper, and yet the brain responded as though judgment was real and present. This has enormous implications. If you always feel watched by a critical parent in your memory, by a judgmental workplace culture, by a society that seems to have an opinion about everything you do, your brain will continuously suppress the most authentic, original version of you. Not because that version is bad, but because the watched brain learns to hide anything that might invite criticism. The observation recovery loop. And finally, this one matters. After the moment of being watched has passed, your brain doesn't immediately let it go. It replays it. What did I look like? What did they think? Did I say something strange? Was I too much? Not enough? This post-performance review runs on a loop, and almost always, the brain edits the footage against you. It amplifies the moment you hesitated, the word you stumbled over, the silence that stretched a half-second too long, and it minimizes every moment that went well. Psychologists call this the negativity bias, the brain's tendency to weight negative experiences more heavily than positive ones. It evolved to help us learn from danger, but in a world where being watched doesn't actually threaten your survival, it just leaves you lying awake at 2 a.m. replaying a conversation from Tuesday. The brain that was watching you while you were being watched, it's still watching you, long after everyone else has moved on.